Dear Toastmasters and honored guests, what you just heard was the voice of an 8-year-old girl practicing her pronunciation by way of the so-called tongue twisters. Now, this is a Dutch girl, and she was practicing because she was moving with her family to the United States and she wanted to get a head start. And I wonder how many of you thought she was a native English speaker? How many of you thought she was Dutch? Okay. Now I'm curious, how many of you are native, consider themselves to be native English speakers? A few. Okay, very good. Well, as Toastmasters, we all know, we're all interested in speaking. And we all know that there's a lot that comes when you stand up in front of a group and talk about something. You have to think about your message, your structure. You have to think about vocal variety. You have to think about body language and so on. But one of the things that we barely think about is our pronunciation. That is sort of treated like an afterthought. And that is what I want to talk about tonight. Pronunciation. For most non-native speakers, they learn the language later in life, maybe after adolescence or so. And by that time, the articulatory settings are already set by the environment where they grew up in. Their parents, their teachers, their peers. Now, what are articulatory settings? That in a way already is hard to pronounce. The articulatory settings are all the organs and muscles that are involved in producing speech and sound. They are primarily in the throat, in the mouth, in the tongue, and in the lips. And they are set a certain way. And it's very difficult when you get older to get the articulatory settings that are necessary to produce the typical English sounds. For many non-native speakers, those sounds can be difficult. There's another thing, and that is that pronunciation is closely aligned to our sense of self, our identity, and especially our national identity. And there might be some loyalty conflict going on because we think we are how we speak. And if we then try to lose our native accents, maybe that gives a sense of disloyalty to our nationality. That might come into play. So it's a difficult issue. Now, what are some of the pronunciation challenges that we face as non-native speakers? For the Dutch, it's the TH that's really tricky. Very often it becomes the de or ze, as in that and those, smoothie, or smoothie sometimes, Bluetooth, have you heard of Bluetooth? Or bugs in the system. Simply Dutch accent. Then for the French it's a different story. The becomes ze, and we as Dutch people might find that charming. German has another challenge, also is the TH, that often becomes ze, sie, ze, zos. And Germans have to work very hard at losing that accent. Now for the Chinese there is another challenge, and that is that the R often becomes an L. So what you get is the red loom, and that is meant to be the red room. That sound of R is hard for many Chinese people and also other Asian folks. And now for the Spanish, there's an interesting phenomenon there that the V oftentimes becomes the B. V, B. So you get the vocal variety, Vivacious, and my buddy Valentine. Also at the end, the M often becomes an N. Somehow it's hard for the Spanish speakers to put the lips together. Room becomes room. So those are some of the challenges. Now you may ask, well, it's okay, people can understand what I'm saying. You know, I do have an accent, but I don't care. But then again, there are many benefits. It really greatly improves your communication when you put a little extra attention in your pronunciation. If people ask you often, what are you saying? Could you say it again? Excuse me? Then you know there is room for improvement. Studies have shown that when you, as a non-native speaker, speak very clear English, then that gives you a tremendous amount of status. And that's always good to have status. We just heard about that. And so, consequently, it brings in more money because the person who speaks clear English is going to get the contract. The promotion is going to be sent overseas to handle the difficult negotiations. So there are benefits in clear pronunciation. So what keeps us from putting some more effort into it? Well, folks, the usual things. Shame, embarrassment, and fear. Also called the lizard brain. It's that old part of the brain that kicks in whenever we feel threatened. We can feel it when we talk in front of a group of people, but we feel it even more when we have to talk in front of a group of people in a language that is not our native language. And what happens with that lizard brain? It starts to shift everything in black and white. And these old, outdated thought patterns come into play. If I get it right, I'm pretty good. If I get it wrong, I'm a bad person. If I get it right, I'm lovable. If I get it wrong, I'm despicable. If I get it right, I'm a success. And if I get it wrong, I'm a loser. And if I get it right, I will survive. But if not, I'll die. So there. Take a moment and find out what are your own irrational, particular, outdated beliefs. And then check them. And see if you want them. If not, throw them out. Like pieces of furniture you've had standing around in your living room, you no longer use, just sell them on eBay or give them to the kringloopwinkel and let go of your outdated beliefs. Empty your mind. Take the beginner's attitude and start playing and start having fun with your tongue and lips. There are many ways in which you can have fun with your tongue and lips. And practicing your pronunciation is one of them. Have fun with the sounds. Exaggerate with your pronunciation. Make every sound count. And enjoy the process of acquiring your new articulatory settings. Then take a look at what's involved. Get familiar with the internal organs of speech. Get familiar with the places of the tongue inside your mouth. There are many different places where they can be, and they will influence the sound that comes out from the lungs, your breath, and the organs, the muscles in your mouth and in your lips will shape those sounds. So there are 4 actions you can take. Record to analyze your speech. Listen, what are your problem areas? Which sounds challenge you? It's different for different people. Study the articulatory settings for those specific sounds. And always check the pronunciation of words that you aren't sure of. You can do that easily on the internet with your iPhone. And you will not get funny mistakes like I've heard here recently, where I heard renewal instead of renewal, disciple instead of disciple, and what was the other one? Entrepreneur, for entrepreneur. So check it, it's really worth your while. And then practice words and sounds with similar sounds but differences in meaning. Sand and scent, rug and rock, hat and head, and so on. There are millions of them, and you can practice them, and it's really a lot of fun. There are a lot of resources on the internet, Starfall, Visual Thesaurus, and particularly the articulatory settings from the University of Iowa. You will find all the sounds, and you can see how they are produced. There will be diagrams, and you can check it, and it's really wonderful. And then there's this great podcast, and you can listen to it 15 minutes a day, and it picks one particular pronunciation challenge, and you can just repeat that and do the exercises. Of course, there are other elements that have to do with clear pronunciation, clear speaking, word stress, sentence stress, word groups, intonation, linking, but I'm not going to talk about that, but they're there and I'm aware of them. So, remember the benefits of clear pronunciation. Your communication will be much more efficient. You will get more friends. People will love you more. You will have more time because you don't have to repeat things 5 times. And you get more prestige. People will look up at you and say, wow, his English is really, really good. I want that too. And ultimately, more money. And isn't that what we all want? More money, because we're all greedy and we don't want to be bewildered by the lack of money.
He would check as much wood as a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could check wood.